Unlike plants, there are very few animals in the forest that cannot be eaten. The majority of mammals, reptiles, and birds are safe to consume, and most fish and some amphibians and insects are okay to eat.
If you are not foraging or collecting all of your plants, you're going to be making traps. You're going to be obtaining animals, whether through the hunt of bow and arrow or spear or snare traps or 340 other traps that I can rattle off the top of my head.
The first trap that can help us to survive our wilderness emergency is known as the figure 4, for obvious reasons.
While you're moving down this road to obtain animal, fishing is one thing. You're dealing with an environment, you know where they are, they're going to be in the water. When you're dealing with mammals, you have to be pretty aware in terms of tracking.
You must have some knowledge of the animals in the area to know how to hunt them.
We're going to assume that this right here is the path of a rabbit or moving through, a small game. By setting up this fence line is forcing the animal to go in this one direction. I want him or her to come in from this side, pushing this stick off. This up here is my fulcrum. So obviously the weight is driving down. My fulcrum wants to kick this up, but because of it's notched in here, it wants to pull this stick straight back. The notch here is preventing that from happening. So it's very simple in elementary design. It's simple, and that's why they're so effective. They work. As I come through and I hit my rabbit, my sticks is scattered, they got out of the way. This is nice and flat in its deadfall. I don't think the rabbit is going to be able to push itself up out of this here stone. And I think that the effectiveness of this particular trap, the quality of it, would do the job. And it would do the job in reverence of that animal and make it quick.
The key is to learn these skills to be able to apply them in a wilderness emergency.
Do I suggest going out there and setting up traps and catching animals? No, I don't suggest it. I do suggest this, practicing this. If you know that you can make a trap, and then now that your tracking skills come into play, when you need it, that's when you take the animal. So don't practice taking the animal, practice setting the trap.
Now it was time to go for a walk and start looking for track and sign.
Some trails are used only once. Some are just escape routes when they get spooked. But for the most part, animals are like water. They don't want to have to work any harder than they have to move through, so they travel on the path of least resistance.
When we begin to track, we look at the baseline, as it's called, and it has a standard rhythm. We are looking for disturbances in that rhythm.
Right here, right where we're standing, the stone, you can notice that some of the leaves and the twigs and things have been crushed and stomped down. You can see the difference, even in the shininess of it all. The sticks, as we move closer towards the camera, have been broken off. Some of them are broken on the ground, leaves have been pushed up. As we come closer, we get to raw earth here. Even the moss that's coming up onto the stone has been pushed and matted down. All indication of a trail, very, very active trail, as a matter of fact. And it joins this human trail. The beautiful track and sign is not only looking at the buds that have been eaten off and broken, but the obvious. Right? This is a very large sign when it comes to track and sign. The fact that this moss bundle has been kicked over. It was here, but now it's here. Underneath it is the toe dig of the deer that came up, pushed that moss over, and moved through. These are the little subtleties you're going to have to pay attention to. A hair, single braid of hair hanging off a bush. That's significant.
We are not only learning to identify what animal we are following, but we are moving to a level of understanding within the track.
You begin to tell if it's a male or female animal that you're following. The last time it went to the bathroom. Is it dehydrated? Is it injured? Is it carrying disease? Not just because of the shape of the track, but because of the information that's in the track.
In his work with the National Track and Forensic Search and Investigation Team, Shane explained that it is the language inside the track that is often used to help identify a rescuer's track versus a victim's track.
We have to be careful about how we move through the bush. Remember, movement is critical, and I want to see the environment for its entirety, moving at the same rhythm of the woods. If I simply move the way we move, I'm that giant pebble in an otherwise peaceful pond. I just made a giant splash.
The key is to settle our rhythm so we move in harmony with the bush.
That rhythm, that oneness, when you're starting to really mold and blend into your environment, moving to the same heartbeat rhythm of Mother Earth, being able to stalk and being in that zone, if you will. Now you're doing it. Now you're going to go silent. Now you're going to be able to move through the bush with very, very little disturbance. A lot of the animals not even going to notice. When you start going through scout training, you're very comfortable out here in the bush. You can move through swamps or other places that most people avoid and call it home.